The storm rolled over the plains like a beast with 1,000 wet claws, tearing at the roof of Elias Turner's old ranch house. Inside, the single father cradled his sleeping daughter Mary, hoping the thunder wouldn't wake her again. Just as he laid her down, someone pounded on the door. 3 hard knocks. Elias froze. No traveler would be out in weather like this, and no Apache would approach a white man's ranch at night unless something was terribly wrong. He opened the door. Slowly, a woman stood there, soaked to the bone, her dark braids plastered to her cheeks. Her clothes were torn, her breath shaking, but her eyes, fierce gold-brown, scared and proud all at once, held his attention. I need shelter, she whispered. I won't stay long. Just one night. Elias hesitated. He had given shelter to strays before, men, horses, even wounded soldiers once, but an Apache woman appearing at his doorstep, alone, half-frozen. It didn't make sense. Still, he looked at Mary sleeping in the next room, then at the trembling woman before him. Come in, he said quietly. She stepped inside, dripping water onto the wooden floor. Her gaze darted everywhere, as if expecting someone to burst through the walls. You're hurt, Elias said, noticing the cut across her arm. It's nothing, she muttered. Doesn't look like nothing. She turned away sharply, but when she winced, he saw it. Fear, real fear, buried beneath her strength. He brought a blanket and draped it around her shoulders. She flinched at first, then slowly relaxed. My name's Elias, he said. This is my home. And for tonight, it's yours too. She finally met his eyes. I am Taya, she whispered. I shouldn't be here. If they find me... She stopped herself. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. Who's looking for you? He asked. Taya pressed the blanket tighter around herself, her jaw trembling. My own people, she breathed. They think I did something unforgivable. Thunder cracked overhead. Elias stared at her. He had taken in a stranger. Woman who wasn't just lost, she was running from something dangerous. Something close. Something getting nearer with every gust of wind against the windows, and he had just let her into his home. The dawn came pale and golden over the farmland. Single father. Mark Bennett stood outside his small home, holding his son Jamie in one arm, while the other rested on the fence. The fields stretched wide and quiet under the sun. Last night, the stranger had stayed, an Apache widow named Elisa. He'd let her in out of kindness when the storm drove her in. He didn't know then she was running. Inside the house, Jamie sat on the floor with wooden blocks, humming. Elisa sat at the table, a single coffee cup in front of her. Her back was to Mark, hair loose and dark, and the sunrise lit her silhouette. Everything looked peaceful, too peaceful for what she was hiding. Mark stepped inside softly. Morning, he said. Elisa looked up and gave a small, polite smile. Morning, she replied. Mark nodded toward the cup. You drink coffee? She shook her head. I'm fine, thank you. He glanced at Jamie. He's hungry. I'll fix breakfast. As Mark turned away, Elisa's eyes followed his son. Something in them flickered, regret, fear, protectiveness. Outside, the wind rustled the cornstalks. Mark's mind wandered to the previous night, how the storm had driven them to shelter, how he'd offered her a bed, and how his son had slept soundly while the stranger stayed. He had thought it was just one night. But early in the morning, a distant rider appeared on the horizon, dust rising behind. Horse galloping fast. Mark tensed. Jamie, come here. Mark kept his voice calm for the boy's sake. He stepped toward the door and looked out. The rider slowed, then dismounted by the gate. Inside, Elisa pulled a small, worn journal from her cloak. She opened it to a page marked with tears and desert dust. The words inside were tight, short. They've found me. They will come tonight. Mark couldn't hear the words, but he sensed the shift in her shoulders. Something heavy pressed against the quiet of the morning. The rider at the gate made himself known. I'm looking for, he said, voice loud in the stillness. Mark stepped between him and the house. "Is there a problem?" The rider glanced across the fields. "My man, he's running with someone from your camp." Element of crime. "We're taking her back." Mark's jaw tightened. "This woman is a guest. I'm not forcing her anywhere," the rider smirked. "Then you're helping her hide. That makes you complicit." He stepped closer. Mark raised his voice for his son's ears. "Take your horse and ride away. This isn't your fight." The man laughed. "Let's see how far the road goes." Inside, Elisa stood, her face pale but determined. Mark noticed then the fierceness in her eyes. "She lied," the rider called out. "She has warrants, fugitive." Mark turned toward Elisa. "Is it true?" She nodded, voice steady. "Yes, I escaped. I couldn't stay." Mark swallowed. "Because—" She hesitated, then said, "She was my husband's murderer. He was from my tribe. The law was corrupt. They let him go. I couldn't bear my child growing up without a father." Mark's heart pounded. "So you took the law into your own hands." She looked up. "I did what I had to, and now they want to drag me back." Mark looked at his young son, playing quietly nearby. He realized then that this was no longer just one night of shelter. He had made a commitment to protect this woman and his child. He stepped outside again. "Sir," he said to the rider, voice steady, "you either leave now, or I call the sheriff." The rider sneered. "You? Stand in my way?" Mark didn't blink. "We either settle this peacefully now, or I'll shoot to protect what's mine." The rider laughed again and rode off slowly, dust rising behind. When the gates closed and the threat faded, Mark walked back inside. Elisa looked at him, tearful but relieved. "Thank you," she whispered. Mark knelt beside Jamie, smiling. "Son," he said gently, "meet Elisa. She's our friend." Jamie looked up and grinned. Eliza's lips curved into a genuine smile for the first time in years. "Thank you for staying." Mark placed a hand on her shoulder. "We're staying together." One night turned into a new beginning. Outside the sun climbed high, golden light washing over the fields. And inside that quiet house, two lives began to intertwine under the endless western sky.